G'day, I'm Stuart from Australian Clutch. Today we're just going to run through the basics on the different clutch options that we offer for Mitsubishi and Subaru vehicles. A lot of the Evos and Subarus getting around nowadays, and a lot of guys that are putting performance upgrades in them, bigger turbos and all of that. So we've got multiple different options which we offer depending on what the primary use and everything is of the vehicle. The first point you want to consider is, what is the primary use of the vehicle? Do you still drive it every day, or is it a purely track car only? The horsepower level of the vehicle and the performance goals of where you want to use the vehicle in the future. Are you going to upgrade the turbo in the future? These are things you want to think about before even selecting a clutch. Yes, clutches can be used on the street and the track together, but it's important that you do select the right clutch so that you can get the best of both worlds. And the other thing to consider is, how much are you going to use it on the street versus how much you're going to use it on the track. If you're still driving it on the street every day and then use it on the track maybe twice a year, that might be a different clutch to you're driving it on the street just to get it to the track. We have quite a few different friction material options: organic, ceramic and carbon, depending on how the vehicle is used. Mostly organics used on the street, ceramic is used in a little bit of street and quite a bit of track stuff. And then we do have carbon as well, which is strictly a track type friction material. It's super lightweight and has a high resistance to heat. We have multiple flywheel masses available, so street cars want a more OEM weight on the flywheel, where a racing car might want something that's super low inertia. Depending on how the vehicle is used, we have pull and push type mechanisms available for our clutches. So sometimes people want to convert them to push type and use a hydraulic release bearing inside the bell housing. Other times people want to retain the OEM pull type mechanism. We also have sprung and rigid versions of our multi-plate kits. So some people might want to put a sprung hub in there to save the OEM gearbox a little bit. Other people want to do away with those types of components because they're running an aftermarket gear set or a sequential transmission. More street-oriented clutch kit tend to be quite quiet in terms of noise and vibration that will come through from the vehicle. They tend to retain an OEM type friction disc with maybe different friction materials. Racing clutches or extremely high horsepower vehicles that need a multi-plate clutch, they tend to make a little bit of a rattle noise when you have the clutch disengaged and your foot on the pedal. If you're running a rigid hub or you're running a sprung hub like some of the 200mm clutches, then they can transmit a small amount of increased noise and vibration through the transmission into the cabin. Again, if it's for a motorsport clutch kit, that's normally perfectly acceptable. All of our kits come with the required components to make sure that that kit can be fitted to a completely stock vehicle. So if it's a single plate organic kit stage 1, then it'll come with a pressure plate, a disc, an alignment tool and a pilot bearing when required. But if you buy a full motorsport clutch kit, it will more likely come with flywheel bolts, a steel alignment tool, release bearing and carrier, and all the conversion components if it's required to convert it to push type. It does depend on the level of kit to what components come with it. To give some real world examples, Evos and Subarus around the 400 horsepower at the crank, you still want to stick with something that's probably going to be organic if you're driving on the street. So normally a single plate heavy duty organic or extra heavy duty organic is going to be the most suitable for street driving. If you're primarily using it on the track at 400 horsepower, then you can probably still stick with a single plate but switch to a ceramic friction material just to give you a little bit more heat capacity. If you're pushing a little bit more horsepower than that, say 500 horsepower at the crank, and you're still driving it on the street every day, then you want to stick with organic friction materials. So that's why we've developed the twin organic 230mm that retains the pull type mechanism for both of these Mitsubishis and Subarus. That's going to be far better and far more drivable on the street than something like a single ceramic. If you're 500 horsepower and you're only using it on the track, then perhaps you want to look at the 200mm range or even the 230mm twin ceramic version. These two clutch kits are going to give you a far greater heat capacity, which you're going to want on the track. For vehicles that are only used on the track for circuit or time attack type events, that's when you want to start looking at the 7.25 or 184mm twin plates and triple plates. These kits offer extremely low inertia on the engine and extremely low inertia on your input shaft to save your synchros. It is important to note that these types of clutch kits are not usable for street. They don't provide very good drivability and they can be heavy to operate on the pedal.